This is part 2 of Aresti Family 7, Loops and Eights. In this part, we'll look at some of the so-called open loop figures and finish with the vertical eights. All of the common criteria for the family discussed in part 1 apply here as well. We'll begin with the horizontal S, which consists of two 5/8 loops joined by a 45-degree line. The 5/8 loop radii must be the same, and 1 point is deducted if they are not. All of the standard looping rules apply. There may be rolling elements placed on the 45-degree line, and if present, they must be centered. Between 1 and 4 points are deducted for misplaced elements. Use figure 14 in Rule 7.1 to determine the specific downgrade. The 45-degree line is judged for proper track with a deduction of 1/2 point per 5 degrees. Rolling elements may also be present on the entry line, exit line, or both. If such a roll is specified, there must be no line drawn between the rolling element and the loop. Should a line be observed, there's a minimum downgrade of 2 points. In addition, the looping and rolling portions may not overlap. Next is the vertical S. This consists of two half loops stacked one on another. Both half loops must appear round as viewed by the judges and must be drawn the same size. A deduction of 1 point is applied if the loop sizes are different, any radius change, or any flat spots are observed. The loops must be wind corrected in the vertical plane with downgrades of 1/2 point per 5 degrees of displacement. Throughout the figure, the pilot must keep the aircraft wings level, except during a possible half roll, and deviations are penalized at 1/2 point per 5 degrees. There may be a half roll placed between the half loops, and if present, it is drawn on a horizontal line. This half roll should begin immediately after the loop is finished. Also, the next loop should begin immediately after the roll is complete. No line should be drawn between the looping and the rolling portions. Judges viewing any such line should downgrade 2 points. Here is the horizontal 8, commonly referred to as a Cuban 8. It's comprised of a 5/8 loop, a 3/4 loop, and a 1/8 loop associated with the entry or exit line. The radii of the 5/8 loop and the 3/4 loop must be the same with a 1 point deduction if different. The 1/8 entry or exit radius, however, is not required to match the other partial loops in the figure. The track of the 45-degree lines must be wind corrected such that they intersect at the center of the figure. Deductions of 1/2 point per 5 degrees apply. There may be rolling elements specified on the 45-degree lines, and if present, they must be centered. Downgrades of 1 to 4 points are applied using figure 14 in Rule 7.1 as a guide. In addition, rolling elements may be placed on the entry line or exit line. If present, there must be no line drawn between the roll and looping elements of the figure. If the judges observe a line drawn, there is a deduction of at least 2 points. A 0 could be scored at the judge's discretion. The horizontal Super 8 consists of two 3/4 loops, two 1/8 loops, and three 45-degree lines. The 45-degree lines are not required to be the same length and may all have rolling elements added. This figure can be thought of as two goldfish joined with a common 45-degree line. The entry and exit radii, marked A and C on figure 43, do not have to match. All of the standard looping rules apply. The 1/8 loop radii also do not need to match that of the 3/4 loops. The 3/4 loop radii, marked B on figure 43, are required to match, and a deduction of 1 point is applied if different. The 3/4 loops, while of the same radius, do not have to be at the same altitude at any time in the figure. The last figure is the vertical 8, sometimes referred to as a snowman. This figure consists of 2 whole loops stacked on each other. The figure could be drawn with both loops above the entry, both below the entry, or 1 loop above and 1 below. The loops should appear perfectly round and are required to be the same size. A 1-point deduction is assessed for each radius change noted, or if the size of the loops are different. The figure must be wind corrected in the vertical plane to counteract drift in or out. Penalties of 1/2 point per 5 degrees are assessed. Throughout the figure, the pilot must keep the wings level and is penalized 1/2 point per 5 degrees of deviation. At the junction of the loops, there may be 1/2 roll elements. If present, these must be flown on a horizontal line and must immediately follow the completion of one loop and before starting the subsequent loop. There can be no line drawn before or after the roll elements. Any observed line is downgraded by 2 points. Since the roll element is flown on a horizontal line, the entry and exit points will be separated as shown in figure 45. There is no deduction applied for this separation. This concludes Family 7, Loops and Eights. For more information, log on to mini-iac.com or arestisystem.com.